Nice. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The two go together.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's nice.
Okay, anyone else want to share, either Tuke or Linda Flores, about what your objective is for your hope that you can achieve from the program? That was just the two questions that Linda wanted to hear.
Well, Linda and I would like to take over Ohio.
Yes.
Like a storm.
That'd be great.
All right.
Chapter around.
You can do it.
Mm.
I'll say something. For me, growing up as a young person, it was rather confusing to understand the standard of living a pure life, because I was in college, and the priest in college, we had this class with 50 young people, and the question was, do you think if you're engaged, can you have sexual relation? And out of 50 students, only 3 said no, it should not still be a sexual relation. But everybody else, including the priest, said it was okay. And only myself, my girlfriend, and at that time I had a boyfriend, we 3 said, no, even if you're engaged, you should not have sexual relation. And then it was very hard for me personally with a boyfriend to figure out where is my limitations. Even I knew I will not have sexual relation, but can I hold hands? Can I kiss? And one can lead to the other. And it's been very difficult for me personally as a young girl to know the border or the limitations. And I just know how important it is to have a standard of living, because really our purpose is to build strong relationship in marriage. And if you come into marriage with all this package and this experiences which are from various relationships, it's so devastating and so difficult. So I myself, my vision is strong marriages, but to achieve that, we got to start before as a young person. So that's why I'm here.
I could do a whole workshop on what you just said.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, so many young people are in the same way. It's like they have I call it an original mind, right? They have an original mind that's saying I shouldn't do this, and they think the guilt comes from, you know, old wives' tales or their parents or something, not realizing, no, it's just like you shouldn't jump off the roof. You know, there's something holding you back. But now it gets kind of drowned out if from a young age you only see
Right.
sexually explicit programs, commercials, everything, that your value is how much Botox you take and things like this. It's pretty interesting, but it's yeah, it's sad because it's like you said, it's what they bring into the relationship. If we don't learn self-control over emotions and activities now, you get back into those same habits. They're habits, you know. So it's and then you don't have the same bonding with your lifelong committed person, you know, the love of your life, because you've kind of diluted your
Mhm.
ability to love. And then how many heartbreaks,
Mhm.
you know. So I address all those things with kids. I mean, some of the things that I hope you don't mind, I'm going to be pretty explicit with what even 6th graders say and what they're exposed to, and how we deal with it. Even with our facial expressions, people should not feel guilt or bad for sharing or asking a question, you know. And if we don't have an answer, first of all, I just every answer to every question I have found in our material, you know. And it's so liberating. And some people won't like it, but we just talk about consequences, you know, the irrefutable consequences, common consequences. And like I think the main point is people want to be happy. They want, whatever they do, they want to benefit. Why be a college professor if you don't have benefit, either pay or you love the subject, you love to teach? There has to be a benefit. Well, same thing with waiting until marriage for sex. We talk about the benefits, and not so many people even understand. So it is important that we don't. Some people say, well, of course, you shouldn't have sex as a teenager, but if you do, here's how you can get free condoms. That is not ever allowed to give that message for somebody certified to give our program. And plus, you're really giving kind of a death sentence to people. The way the STDs, it's not just AIDS that kills you, and also, like you said, one thing leads to another, correlated behaviors. So we'll talk about all those things.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to start now.
Take notes, or we will be given the PowerPoints, or should I be taking? I have notes, but should I be taking a lot of notes, or?
Yeah, well, actually, we do suggest to take notes. We will be giving you the PowerPoint. That's part of what you purchase when you join the class, because we want you to learn teaching. This is the first portion of a certification to become certified as a presenter, an official certified. But you would need another 8-hour session to get certified. So at the end of this 8 hours, if people want to go on and get certification, you can be certified in the organization. So I just will share for a moment my hope and objective and how I just started. Okay, so the PowerPoint is not included, I'm sorry to say. Do take
Oh, he
notes.
doesn't give the PowerPoint? Oh, maybe
No,
he
no,
sells up
I just got a notice from the
executive director.
executive director.
How
So
about the scripts, though? We would give the scripts, though, right?
yeah, well, what we'll do is after this, we'll let you guys know what we can do. But for this call, take notes. And this is the initial training. And we'll, if you're going to become certified, I'm sure you're going to get at that point the entire PowerPoint, because you'll be certified to use it. I guess just a little background on that. The reason Dr. Pinzer is strict on that is this is a program that's run for many years. Is it already 30 years now, Linda?
Yeah, since 1988 is when he started living in the age of AIDS, and then it developed into character education and stuff. So it became solidified. I think it was like maybe 91 or something like that.
Great.
When he became a 501c3, 89, 91, something like that.
So
I
you've
was
been
giving
very
it in the
careful.
Soviet Union in 93, so.
As you can see, the opposition that we have culture in our country against teaching young people to be pure and fidelity. It's remarkable, but culturally we've really collapsed as a nation, and we see the results. So Dr. Panzer's been very careful to monitor things, and that kind of segues into my hope for taking the class. About 3 years ago, I got together with some friends, and we were concerned about what was going on in Houston, where a lesbian mayor was forcing all the pastors to threaten them in jail because they were speaking out according to their biblical beliefs. And that kind of evolved into an organization we call American Clergy and Leaders Alliance, which our theme is to bring God's true love ethics back into our families and communities. And when I look at America, the one thing, if we could change, if we could really change and we could bring God's true love ethics, which is simple. I do say God, and this is a program that's all about the science. It's not a specific program for a specific faith or religion, but the basic is purity till marriage and fidelity in marriage. If we could actually move in that direction and experience a really true love on the foundation of those two, our country would be transformed, because your core morals, your values, your integrity all grow from that. So I'm so pleased to actually have Linda as our teacher. I've known Linda for a number of years, And we worked together when I lived in New Jersey. She's just a wonderful person to work with, and we work with politicians, and we try to help New Jersey move forward. We did our utmost. And so anyway, this is exciting. I'm hoping that everyone can get the benefit and we can multiply this and really help our young people who are in such a difficult time. Like Dr. Linda had explained, she's a professor, and anyone who's been with young people knows. And if you have children in this age group of anywhere from teens all the way up into their 20s, they're so confused. And we can see the moral decay of our country is putting us in a serious position. So I'm so honored to work with you, and we'd like to really support you. I want to take a moment now to just introduce a little bit about Linda. She is the Hudson and Bergen County Education Director for Free Teens Institute for Relational Intelligence. As Director of Education for Free Teens, Ms. Doering has been responsible to develop partnerships with schools, community organizations, and to offer workshops for parents. She also has educated over 1,500 6th to 12th grade youth each year since 1999. Thousands and thousands of young people have had their lives transformed. 2004, 2005, she assisted the Jersey Public Schools, the second largest school district in New Jersey, in presenting teacher workshops for 120 teachers, as well as teacher staff development workshops in 2007. In April 2009, she taught over 200 social workers and counselors at a training workshop given by Real Alternatives in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the National Association for Marriage Education in Pasadena, California in 2012. In 2018, Linda Doering was invited by Patterson Public Schools, one of the largest school districts in New Jersey, to provide value presentations for their staff training to 180 teachers on anti-bullying, and in 2019, the New Jersey Sexual Consent Law. She's also worked internationally, working in the former Soviet Union as an HIV/AIDS lecturer, and also presented relationship intelligence to students and parents in Belarus, Estonia, Ukraine, Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, Sweden, Canada, and United States. So we're so grateful to welcome Linda as our professor to teach us at this point. And I guess, Birgie, you can move it to the side screen, and then we ask Linda to begin. And maybe, Linda, you want to share maybe a couple words of the joy that you shared with us before, teaching this content.
Yeah, I can tell you how I originally got started. You
So
want me to
Birgie,
wait till
you can make it the speaker view.
I think when Linda puts the PowerPoint on,
Oh.
it will happen on its
Let
own.
me see, share screen? No.
Yeah, when Linda
You
shares.
go up in the view in the corner, it says speaker view.
Okay, speaker. Oh, speaker view, I see, okay.
Okay.
There we go. And I don't know, it's on the top.
And Birgie, you're the host, so you have to do the view for everyone, speaker view.
I did already.
Okay, so share screen. I don't know. Do you want me to do share screen again? I don't know.
Yeah, you can do share screen if you like.
See if that helps any. Oh, that's much better.
There we go.
Wonderful. So thank you everybody for your patience on this. This is my debut doing Zooms. I'm always doing everything live. And it's interesting how I originally got started on this, believe it or not, and you will be surprised after you get to know me. I've been a total introvert my entire life. It was very difficult for me to even speak one-on-one to people. And when I went to the Soviet Union, my average audience was 600 people and nobody spoke English. My slides were all in Russian. I had a translator who would translate for me. And I tell you, they treated me like a rock star. They loved the program. The teachers were at their wits' end. They were told, just teach the kids how to put on condoms. And they said, what do we do with these things, And but in the back of my head, I used to think, oh my gosh, you know, I could never teach this in America. They would laugh me out of town. I used to be like a hippie and free love and all of this, you know. And of course, I had changed my ways by then, but I just thought, no, nobody in America would be able to listen for a second. And I found the opposite to be true. I started teaching in a high-risk district. It had the most cases of HIV per capita in all of America. So Dr. Panzer got a grant to do there. And it was like water on desert sand. And without exception, after even the first presentation, usually I do 8 to 10 45-minute presentations. Without exception, they say, when are you coming back? And, you know, I always tell them I'm almost 75 years old. I'm not cool, but I'm definitely very real. You know, so if my realness gets to be too much for you, just going to have to get over it, because we have to be keeping real. And this is what I find teenagers want. They want just honest conversation. They want honest information by which they can make their own decisions upon. And when you were talking about, you know, speaking with people, this has no boundaries. I have spoken, 6th grade is the youngest we go to for obvious reasons. But I tell you, 6th graders, too many of them have already started looking at porn. That does seem to be the average age, 9 or 10. So I get a lot of questions on that. And I speak in high schools, and I usually start my program with some hip hop or rap. It depends on where I am. If it's Latinos, we do a little bachata and merengue, you know, little aventura, Romeo there. And I had this one girl, she was challenging me. She says, oh, what are you going to do? Turn on Beastie Boys? And I said, how about this? And I had Beanie Siegel, Tales of a Hustler, and the boys just jumped up. I had immediate credibility, you know. So it's like knowing your audience, you know, and just loving the children. I'm always respectful to them. You know, it's just finding your way with them. So Dr. Panzer was starting to do a program on HIV and AIDS, and he wanted to test it out. A few adults, you know, lived, you know, in our apartment building. So he wanted to come to our apartment, and he had some slides about, you know, gingivitis and herpes on the face. So he said that I had to go in the bedroom with my children. They were all under the age of 5. I had 3 of them. And so I never got to see his slides. I only peeked out, and then I had to go back with the kids. Then one day I saw on the news, there were these men that were going on the steps of the Catholic school. I'm not a Catholic, but I respect what the Catholic schools are trying to do to help kids, you know, and they're giving out condoms to all these children, and the children were looking at the condom, oh, what's this, and laughing. And I was thinking I would break some legs. And then I realized, no, I'd get arrested. So I knew that wasn't good. And then I went to California for a while. And I thought, you know, then I found out I was going to be going to the Soviet Union to work. So I remembered about Richard's program. I said, Richard, you know, I really want to be trained for your program so I can help other people. He said, Linda, if you get 40 people to attend a regular workshop, I'll come over there. And I got exactly 40 people, and I got the place donated. He gave an amazing, and what really got me out of all the things he said, which was amazing, he said a presenter, she really wanted to do it, but she was afraid to speak out loud. And so she would practice giving it to her dog every day, you know, with the slides. We had slides, you know, advancing, it wasn't PowerPoint. And then when she got invited to do a classroom, she got one of the long cords. So she stood in the very back of the room instead of in the front where the students could see her. And she would speak and advance the slides. And the teacher said to her, that was the best presentation I've ever seen. That's amazing. And I thought, well, if she could do it, I could do it. And then, you know, I bought the slides and everything, went to Soviet Union, and the rest is history. So we'll talk a lot about getting into schools, but what we really want to do is make an impact and making a change. This is the theory behind what we do and why we do it, because a lot of times people have the baggage of their past or even their present and just say, this is not realistic. You know, the kids like to say, you got to be keeping it real, you know, but actually this is keeping it real. It's just something that's been been buried for such a long time that people don't have memories of healthy relationships, healthy marriages, ethics, and it's very interesting. So we want to make a change, how to empower our youth to make healthy choices, because a lot of kids do want to make healthy choices, but they're like hammered down. And I always feel everybody without exception just wants to be happy, but we kind of have lost our way how to get there, how to really get there. So we want to build a community of relationship intelligence, and we'll have like 4 different segments to this. And the first one is media roadblocks to building a community of relationship intelligence. So how we got the name, we say that your RQ is more important than your IQ when it comes to living life in a meaningful way and to really having happiness and success. So, so a lot of traps that teenagers have today, like even this midriff showing, it's very sexual and it's a very innate drive. It really means that this young woman is fertile, having that flat stomach and things like this. So that's why a lot of times you see the midriff. It's a very deep-seated kind of thing. And then you have the guys that are all pimped out with, 50 Cent and, a lot of these players. They just want to sell their gear. They just want to sell their stuff. And I saw a video one time, a documentary a young man was doing on the hip hop and rap community. And he says, don't you have anything they call it spitting, right? Hip hop, about something that's healthy, that's not killing and sex and getting high. And this guy had a great beat, he had a great tempo and wonderful words. And the guy says, why don't you do something like that? He says, I've tried, but the music producers won't allow it. So a lot of it, our kids want to do something different. So the media, community, and family environments that accept low expectations and fatalistic attitudes, basically, you're never going to make it. I want to tell you, in the schools, I've seen a difference, because before, when I'd ask, what are your goals and dreams? The young men oftentimes just gave me sports. But now they don't give the sports. They are talking about higher education and things, but people may have goals, but they don't know how to get there. And with this program, it really helps people understanding that sometimes we set up our own roadblocks or obstacles to keep us away. For 40% of poor pregnant girls, becoming pregnant was a conscious choice, or I don't mind. I've been schooled by 12-year-olds, that's 7th grade girls. They'll say, but Miss Linda, you don't understand. If I get pregnant, I'm going to get SNAP, I'm going to get WIC, I'm going to get free housing. The high schools are going to babysit for me. I says, does your mother know your life goals, your plans? She said, oh no, she'd kill me. So I address the students. Do you have the right to throw away your mother's goals and dreams? Do you have that right? If you need to lie and sneak around, what should that tell you about that behavior? And I'm telling you, you could hear a pin drop. And because they know I'm talking about how to help them. I'm not judging them. Also, the player, thug, pimp, it glamorizes, it seems glamorous for inner city. A lot of times, why do we act fearful? Look at the animal world. Why do they act fearful? Bear will go like this, act like he's bigger than he is. And, dogs will snarl and cats will, scratch. It's because they're afraid. And that's what I find in the hood, because most of my experience is, we call it inner city, I call it the hood. And that's where I feel most comfortable working and speaking. And a lot of them are afraid, so if they act tough, people will just leave them alone because they don't have their fathers at home. They don't have somebody there to protect them, teach them how to be a real man and things like that. It's kind of sad, except for grandpa, So the marketing of sex, alcohol, and violence, it's just like they say sex sells, kind of true. And what happens to these marketers, they've commercialized teen rebellion, so it's just another product to be marketed and sold right back. Your parents are nerds, they don't know what you want. And it's true, these things in the short term, this is exciting, this is fun. And that's how the teen brain is wired, for excitement, taking risk. So this seems great, but in the long term, it's not healthy, it's not good. And I also did this program for a drug court clients. In other words, you got to go to these classes, hold down a job, otherwise you go back to jail. So they would be in my class, and almost without exception, they'd say, yo, Miss Linda, if only I had you when I was in middle school, I wouldn't have the regrets that I have today. So it's really quite an awakening for them. The impact of rap music videos. I mean, what positive things have happened, but actually youth, because again, they have a developing brain. We have a frame of reference. If we see somebody hitting somebody, we know that's bad, you know. Our kids are being kind of brainwashed, really, you know. So youth with heavy exposure to rap music videos were 3 times more likely to hit their teacher, 2.5 times more likely to have been arrested, and 2 times as likely to have multiple sex partners. That means more than one. And that's kind of sad because we are talking about young teenagers, and I'm telling you, it seems to be getting younger every year. Originally, when Dr. Panther, he made this, our program that we're going to view next time, for college students. College students says, no, you need to talk to the high school. They're a hot mess. High school said, no, you got to talk middle school. They're a hot mess. I go to 7th and 8th graders and say, Miss Linda, can you talk to the 3rd and 4th graders? They're terrible. They're also 1.5 times as likely to have a new STD, use drugs and alcohol. So that's a very strong correlationship. It's also the media. I mean, where can you go without them promoting, you know, free sex or body image that nobody can really live up to? There's an inescapable media messages of sexed up girls. I mean, even, you know, I look at Cardi B. She's such a pretty young lady, you know. She has a gorgeous voice, you know. I'm not so impressed with her body that she flaunts and the shows that she puts on, but she has such a talent, but they almost feel they have to give this false image of themselves in order to sell records and entertain people. So a lot of these sexed up girls and women, they pose as adolescents. They can cause psychological and even physical harm to adolescents and young women. So it's a big, big problem. And sexualization can lead to depression, eating disorders, and poor academic performance. Especially it's happening at younger and younger ages. Even little girls, when they go to school dances, they dance so provocatively. I just feel like you don't know what kind of trouble you can be in, but it's the only thing they see. They don't see, you know, doing, you know, nice dances. So marketing of tribal consumer identities, you know, everybody belongs to a certain group. It's really dividing us as human beings. I always tell everybody, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Treat it, when I have any men, I don't care if they're 6th grade, 12th grade, if they're 100 years old, I call them sir. I call strangers sir. I just feel like we need to really respect our men. So these identities, they say your parents are out of touch and they're creepy. Your teachers are nerd. Nobody understands you, but we understand you. And they know exactly what they're doing. So this commercial, this person, Gary Ruskin, he gave this commercial alert. He said, advertising is a type of curriculum, the most persuasive in America today. It is one of the curriculum kids are excelling in. The ads teach kids that buying is good and will make them happy. They teach that the solution to life's problems lies not in good values, hard work, or education, but in materialism and the purchasing of more and more things. And they're so unhappy. I had, even with this girl when Facebook came out years ago, she says, Miss Linda, I have 1,000 friends, but I don't have one friend. You know, they're realizing this. And pornography and the internet, I'll ask little 6th grade boys because they look so young and innocent. And I says, oh my gosh, I got to talk about these things. So I'll say, how many of you have friends who look at porn? At least 85% of those little hands go up and they're all pointing and laughing at each other. And that was 10 years ago. The average age is 9 and 10. This one person said to Richard during one of his programs, who needs the hassles of dating when I have online pornography? I can do it all by myself. For anybody with a computer and a modem, and you know, this kind of old words, but anyway, internet porn is ubiquitous, affordable, and it's anonymous. they think it's anonymous, but you know, with cookies and everything else, it's not. But it's, the thing is, people, they're they're desensitized. What was once seen as shocking, and even grown men, they might like to look at women's bodies, but when they like suddenly faced with nudity or graphic sex, they would look away naturally because they felt it was disrespectful. This Dr. Douglas Wise, actually, I saw him on the Oprah show talking about porn, and she did such a great show with this. He said, consistent viewing of anything or anybody during a sexual experience creates a sexual desire for that object or person. Sadly, many young men have badly trained their brain hundreds or thousands of times by being sexual with themselves before their first legitimate or real sexual encounter. So he started a program, this was even years ago, trying to, especially with marriages, you know, by then it's really gets sticky, because once you're an addict, you're always an addict. That's why I'm all into prevention. All of our programs are into prevention, trying to, if we can just reduce the harmful behaviors and activities as young people, then when their brains mature, they're more likely to make healthy choices, more likely to make healthy choices. So now we're going to go into behavioral roadblocks to building a community of relationship intelligence. Now we will be having about the last 10 minutes for questions. I don't know how long they're going to videotape, but I'll be here to answer questions, and I'll stay as long as you want, you know, but the program officially for this first segment will end at 8 o'clock. So we want to build a community of relationship intelligence. And again, this is not just for young people or married people. It's borderless. I've had the juvenile court in Hudson County call me down to do some of their kids that were just not being attentive. I did senior citizen classes because they're the educators for the young people. You know, how do you educate them? Teachers, just, to me, if you have a pulse, I want to talk to you. So at what age do we make life's most important decisions? What do you think? Yeah, you know, usually not zero per se, but, you know, around the age of, you know, 7, 8 to 25, you know, that's when the decisions you make that are actually going to impact your future life. The habits and attitudes people are developing during those years are basically the same, the frame of reference and the habits and attitudes they develop in the future. That's why some people say YOLO, YOLO, Miss Linda, you only live once. That's a teen expression. You know, so let me smoke a joint, you know, have sex now, you know, before it gets boring when I get married. Little do they know. And I say, yeah, YOLO, YOLO, you only live once. So why not be the best you can be? Because they have no idea. They think smoking pot is healthy, cures cancer, cures AIDS. This is what they're being told. So it's very important that this age group, you know, around 11 and see around 12, they start getting more autonomy, but still it's amazing. I mean, kids smoke. When I did my drug court clients, I spoke to 758 men in 2.5 years, and the average age, almost at least 90%, they started drinking at age 12. And then it went on to, you know, other drugs. So it's just this brain development time. Then later, yes, you can make harmful decisions that can hurt you, but it's not, a lot of them are based upon what they did when they were younger, while their brain was still forming. You know, they weren't as aware of consequences as they are in later life. So we have brain development. Even myself, I was shocked. And we always think, oh, 18, you're kind of an adult, you know, you can go to the army and stuff. Surely by 21, but actually research shows us when you look at the gray matter and everything, the neuron connectors, how you know, our mind operates, the cognitive abilities, the brain does not mature till around 25. And that doesn't mean we're mature, but at least we recognize consequences of our behavior. But if people are doing drugs, they're doing a lot of bad habits, it gets ingrained, it's very difficult for them to advance. And I found that with my drug court guys. At 48 years old, they still were acting like high school boys. high school, which is cute and adorable when you're in high school. But, when you got, 4 or 5 kids, it's important to grow up. So afterwards, you can see 26 and above, those neuron connectors are connecting. The brain is really functioning well. But when people are on drugs, that it would be a disclaimer on that. So this is a picture of the teenage brain. A lot of scientific research went into this, but this is the teenage brain, and every teenager can relate. What do you think they're trying to show us about the teenage brain here through this picture? Anybody have some ideas?
Thrill seekers.
Thrill seekers, absolutely. Anything else? Risk taking, right?
Takers,
I-
yeah.
I saw a boy, he did this for sport, right? And he looked very young. He looked 17, but he's 23. And he's so proud, the interviewer, I've broken every bone in my body. And I'm going, yeah, you might be bragging today, but I'm telling you, at age 35, you probably won't be able to get out of bed, And so risk taking, not thinking of consequences, just the immediate thrill. That's like almost a drug addiction too. When you get that thrill doing something exciting, it gives an explosion of excitement in the brain, so really need to get some, they need to be grounded more, So basically use it or lose it. Whatever we don't use in our brain during those developmental years gets pruned. And what I usually tell the young people, you know how it is when you played sports, you had a lot of fun with all your friends all summer long, then September you come to school, you go, oh man, this is boring. Oh man, teacher, why you give me all these words, too many words? Because your brain, you've lost some of your ability to read. That's why I tell them, even Sports Illustrated, whatever you love to read, keep reading to get that, because that's what you're going to need in college. Almost any job you have need to really understand, how to use that brain, keep it motivated. And then also, a lot of the brain changes, whether they're good or they're bad, they get hardwired. So by age 12, during adolescence, the child's brain is undergoing a lot of changes. That's, they don't know who they are. The gray matter is diminishing, and then the neural connectors are being pruned. And this is why when they originally passed the marijuana legalization bill in New Jersey, there was no age limit. Any child could get pot and smoke it. And they said, oh, you overlooked this. And I think, how do you overlook this? And they said, no, we didn't overlook it. This is how we wanted the bill. Plus it said, if a cop arrests a teenager or a child for smoking pot, it was against the law for the officer to tell the parents. The officer would be disciplined. So their brain needs to be looked at too. By age 16, because the brain is still developing, it's more sensitive to drugs. They just take a few sips of beer or wine and go, wow, man, this stuff is good, And so it makes them want to do more. Because again, what do people want to do? They just want to be happy. So because the brain is still developing, it's very sensitive to drugs. Plus, they're fitting in with the wrong crowd, but they feel, I'm being cool now, I'm fitting in. Oh yeah, I drank a 6-pack, bragging about these things. They keep this up by age 20. The changes the drugs actually alter the brain, the changes the drugs cause are more likely to stick and become hardwired as an addiction by adulthood. Now, the flip of this is, if you try your best to do your homework every day after school, you make A as your goal, you try to do your best, and you have a schedule, and you stick with it, you go to bed early, you develop good habits, you're going to have good habits in college. You're going to have good habits when you get a job. People are going to want you to work for them. So that hardwired isn't always a negative. It can be a positive, but the addictive nature, and I just, as a side note, I know it's not part of the program, right now, all the detectives, the DEA, everybody's saying, you can't call marijuana anymore. It's fentanyl. It's the most highly addictive chemical known to man right now. It's more addictive than morphine, more addictive than any opioid, and they're lacing it in all the marijuana. Every drug you can buy today, meth, anything, is laced with fentanyl because they want you to be a lifelong customer, and you can die from it. So we talk about high-risk behaviors are interconnected. And this is really profound. I'm telling you, when the students see this, they are so quiet and pay attention. So you can see on the graph, the bar graph, you see the percentages on the left, then you see the rates above each pink one. The pink graph, it's a kind of patterned one. These are non-virgins. These are the sexually active boys. I think they're the ages of 11 to 14 or 16. I'm sorry, I forget. They're 12 to 16. Then the blue shorter graph, those are the virgins. Now, if you look at alcohol, these are all high-risk behaviors, very high risk for students. So the sexually active boys, 12 to 16, who are drinking alcohol are over six times more likely to abuse, that are sexually active, that are sexually active are 6 times more likely to abuse alcohol. Now, this is not saying, oh, if the kid's doing sex, he's going to do all these things. Maybe he's drinking alcohol and then he becomes very sexually active, or he's, he's having sex and he's doing these things. Now he's smoking cigarettes. So they're interrelated. They're connecting. So cigarettes, the sexually active boys, 4 times more likely to do cigarettes, 5 times more likely to smoke marijuana, 3 times more likely to run away from home, 4 times more likely to have the cops know you by your first name, and 7 times more likely to be suspended. Do you think that this young man is headed for a life of success and happiness? Probably not. They really like this slide. They don't get depressed about it. It's just like, oh, great, because now they have an excuse why not to do those things. Whereas before they say, aren't you a man? I go, he's only 11 years old, But it's fascinating for them. And then I say, girls, you have to stop laughing because you're not looking so good. So the pink one, again, this is the females that are sexually active, 6 times more likely to be using alcohol than the ones who are not having sex. And 7 times more likely to smell like an ashtray than the girls who are not having sex. Now, see can you see my arrow when I'm pointing on the arrow? You can. Okay,
Yes.
Good. Wonderful. So, and I find that's important when you do give the presentation to use the arrow. Usually we have a clicker that advances the slides, on our laptop, and then using it helps to draw their attention. They're not so interested here, but the teacher sees the research, and Dr. Pan's, like some people say, oh, this is so old, but either there wasn't another study or the research really hasn't changed any. So why do you have to pay, all this money to get the updated? But we can just look around us and it's like that. So the sexually active girls, 12 to 16, who are sexually active, are 10 times more likely to be puffing marijuana. And that's really not good, because that's just going to, make her more susceptible to a lot of high-risk behaviors. She's 18 times more likely, to be, let's see, boys. So sometimes I'll go back and forth showing the boys and the girls, just so that they really get the difference there. 9 times more likely to, Okay, so 9 times more likely to be arrested by the police. And the police tell me that the girls are much more violent than the boys. They're much more belligerent when the police come up to them. And again, we're talking about young girls, right? 5 times more likely to be suspended from school and 6 times more likely to attempt suicide. Do you think she feels happy and successful and fitting in with the crowd? No, she's pretty depressed. Now, with us females, we don't do anything unless we're feeling it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're not feeling, we don't do it. So here again, you have the non-virgins, the girls who are sexually active between 12 and 16 on the pink graph. Then you have the virgins here. And this shocks the girls. They say, Miss Linda, I'm taking notes. Could you go a little slower? The girls who are sexually active are 2 times more lonely than the girls who are not having sex. The girls are being told, have sex, you'll be more cool, you'll be more popular. I had a 7th grade class. Miss Linda, is it true if I don't have sex, but by 7th grade, then in 8th grade, my vagina is going to close up and I'll never be able to have sex? These are the kind of things, people aren't saying, do your homework. They're talking about this stuff. And I said, the 8th graders told you that, right? And they go, yeah, how'd you guess? They're 2 times, the sexually active ones are 2 times more upset. Do we need to be more upset as teenagers? I don't think so. Uh-oh. And then 3 times more tense and 5 times more likely to cut or hurt themselves. I give a brief talk about that. And again, 6 times more likely to try to kill themselves. And I do talk about suicide, that it's not a way out. And then your parents are sad, like we talk a lot about, suicide, because some people get triggered so easily, So there's a lot of emotional risks for sexually active high school females. And why do girls have sex? It's usually not about the sex. They want to fit in. They think if I have sex, I give up my virginity. They'll know that that person means something to me. But the result is something they're not prepared for. The sexually active high school females are 3 times more likely to be depressed and to attempt suicide. Those with multiple sex partners are 11 times more depressed than the girls who are not having sex. Now, I see we only have 7 minutes left, David or Bergie. Did you want to have Q&A now? Oh, I'll have to get you. Oh, Bergie, what do you think? Should we do Q&A now? We'll have to finish the rest next Thursday.
Yeah, that's what David said, right?
Well, why don't we ask our participants, do you have some questions you want to bring up now? Or go another 5 minutes and just use about 5 minutes?
I really don't
How
have.
many, put your hands up if you have a question. Anyone have a question?
Okay, we'll go ahead.
You're doing such a great job. There's no questions. Okay, so go ahead.
That's one thing, because I have so many experiences in so many different scenarios. I'm really being very, believe it or not, very short-winded on a lot of these experiences that are very real with children. The emotional risk for high school males engaging with high-risk behaviors. We don't think of males as having feelings. And I want to tell you, the boys in the hood jump up from their seats and start clapping like crazy because everybody blames everything on them. And actually, they're the victims of a lot of these things too. The girls are sexually aggressive on them. The girls are hitting them, and they're just stuck between a rock and a hard place. So the ones that are engaging in high-risk behaviors that we discussed before, they're 3 times more likely to be depressed if they're smoking and sex, alcohol and sex, or sex and drugs. Binge drinkers are 5 times more depressed. And define what binge drinking is. It means 5 drinks for an adult male, 5 drinks in 2 hours. For grown female, it's 4 drinks in 2 hours. And a drink is a shot of wine, a can of beer, or a 6-ounce glass of wine. And for most teenagers, they think that's just getting started. They could do that in 30 minutes. Using marijuana, other drugs, 9 times more depressed. And again, it's hitting those parts of the brain. They might be feeling okay while they're high, but as soon as they're not high anymore, that's how they relate. And then they become addicted. They're more likely to drop out of school, less adult achievement. You just see it over and over again. It's like, this is from a research in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, said, which comes first in adolescence, sex and drugs or depression? And it was always sex and drugs, which was not, people thought, oh, they're doing drugs because they're depressed. High-risk behaviors precede depression. It happens before depression. Previous theories assume that youth they would self-medicate their depression with drugs and sex. Experimentation with sex and drugs damage girls' mental health. Persistent sex, alcohol, and drug use damages boys' mental health. But because they start at a young age, they don't know that there's another way. And then as adults, they're still doing the same thing. So that's from that same research. So the conclusion here is we need soundly designed risk avoidance education, not the partial risk reduction education that normalizes risk behaviors. Oh yeah, have sex, just wear a condom, take birth control. What about, how much protection does a latex condom give in protecting your heart? Nothing, you know? Our primary goal and message should not be to make risky behaviors safer. They're never safe, but safer, but to help teens to avoid those behaviors to begin with. Then they don't have to fight always, I want to do this, but it's bad, so I'll lie, I'll sneak around. They can make the right decisions because they're the right decisions to do. Teenagers are still in development, and people know this. That's why they want them to do these things, because now they have a permanent customer. They need parents and mentors to guide them while they mature. So what time is it now?
You have 3 more minutes till 8.
Great. I can go all night. So basically, building a community of relationship intelligence, the strengths and positive influences. Development of assets of teens. You know, many of them, they have all these assets just innate, you know, it's their original mind, you know, but it needs to be brought out more rather than shamed. You know, I had a boy in Snyder High School. He said, Miss Linda, I have to do my homework in school because if the boys see me bringing a backpack home, they beat me up and say, why are you doing your homework? You trying to make us look bad? 48% of adults believe it's embarrassing for teenagers to admit they're virgins, but only 26% of teenagers feel that way. Isn't it amazing? So this was the National Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy. They're not an abstinence organization, not a sexual risk avoidance. It's amazing when you hear from the teens themselves. Now, this was from MTV. They did surveys with young people, divided them into 2 different age groups, and even they were shocked at the answers they got, that many youth have strong pro-marriage beliefs, not even many, but most. 91% of youth and young adults, this is age 13 to 24, that's quite a group, right? Agreed that getting married would make you happy, even with all the negative stuff about it. 52% said they definitely want to get married. 40% said they probably would want to get married. 64% thought very likely they would remain married to the same person for life, which is huge considering, you know, nobody says positive things about it. 30% said somewhat likely, which is the same as very likely in their talk. So this was, they interviewed 1,280 youths. 618 were 13 to 17, and 662, almost 50-50, right? 18 to 24. And this was the Associated Press, MTV, conducted by Knowledge Networks, and they were anonymous surveys too. Youth ideals and regarding sex, love, and commitment. 85% of those same teenagers say that sex should only occur in a long-term committed relationship. The problem is, from the teenager's point of view, sometimes they think they are in a long-term committed relationship, and it's only been 2 months, you know, so they need to understand what the commitment, you know, like one kid said, no ringy, no dingy. 84% of teenagers believe that teen pregnancy programs should teach young people to be married before having a child. What's wrong with that? I mean, single mothers are the hardest working people in America. I think everybody can agree with that. But when you're a teenager, do you want to be the hardest working person in America, or do you want to have some fun? You ask single mothers, all the single mothers, and I met hundreds of them. They said, please teach my children to wait. Please teach my children. I want them to go to college. I had this woman one time, I was going to PS11. She's running down the street, pushing her baby carriage. And she says, are you Miss Linda? Are you Miss Linda? And I go, oh no, what I do this time? And she comes running up to me. She's panting. She says, Miss Linda, I had you in this school when I was in the 7th grade. Now I married a dentist. I waited till I got married. I have my little 3-year-old daughter. Will you still be teaching when she gets in the 7th grade? I thought, what a compliment. I said, I sure hope so. So more teens who wait tend to be more likely to graduate from high school and college. And I think there's a lot of reasons. They're less likely to be engaged in other high-risk behaviors. They're developing good habits. They see how my habits relate to my future. You know, so teens who wait, teens who wait means teens who did not have sex before the age of 18. Sexually active teens means those who did have the sex before 18. So the teens who wait, 9% ended up being high school dropouts, but the sexually active teens, it was 21%. So these could have even had other issues, but we're only looking at the sexual activity. The teens who waited, 26% were high school graduates with no college. 33%, the sexually active teens, 26% wait, high school graduates with no college, right? And then teens who waited, 65% attended or graduated from college, and 46% with the sexually active. So, sometimes I have found with the sexually active, and then you have the correlated behaviors, they just give up easily. Like even if you look at college, the huge dropout rate in the first year, because they're just partying and stuff. They weren't really prepared. So it's just always interesting to see the benefits. If teenagers have ideals and hopes for their future, wouldn't it make more sense to engage their ideals and their dreams instead of ignoring? Take what is solid for them and give them a roadmap to make their dreams more likely. Fewer dream robbers, better choice in friends, so this helps provide a roadmap that if they follow it, they're much more likely to be successful for their own personal goals and dreams than if they just follow the current trends and, let me just live for today. So,
Okay, well, we're just about 8:03 now.
okay.
So is this a good cutoff time in terms of the slides?
Yes, because when we meet next time, we're going to say, well, what really defines masculinity? Or if you ask a man, what defines your manhood? They asked 28,000 men in North America, South America, and some European countries. So see what you think they said.
Hey, that's a great ending. So do you want to, Bergie, you can stop the recording and let's stop the share screen. Actually, Linda.